Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results from Global Foundries. Interesting quarter from this company, this big manufacturer, this big U.S. manufacturer, mainly, of semiconductors. So this is the business story behind that stock, which is on the move today. I'm Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist for Epistrophy Capital Research, and Q3 earnings for this company was better than expected, so the stock was going crazy. But what did the business actually do? It did $1.739 billion in revenues. I'm so glad you asked. It was very profitable, at least 10.6% operating profit margin, which gave it $178 million in revenues. Now the revenues were down on a year-over-year basis, still sinking. The business is still shrinking, down 6% from where they were a year ago. But they told us in the first quarter that every quarter for the rest of the year would be up a little bit, and that did happen. March was the low point. June was a little bit better. Now September a little bit better than that. And the company said in the conference call that that good news would continue. Now, the business has changed a bit over the years. PCs were once an important part of the business. Now it's so small, it's blended into what they call other. IoT, decent part of the business, but automotive was stronger than they expected. Comms and data center, maybe not so strong, but half of the business was smartphones. And while the growth is not what it used to be, still 14%. They'll take that in this business, especially when everything else has been shrinking. A lot of volatility in the automotive business, down 5% year over year, but again, better than it was 2 years ago by a long shot. And even their comm business, which is interesting. We talked about Fabrinet yesterday, which had a pretty good quarter in datacom. We've heard great things about spending from Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile and Comcast, and yet GlobalFoundries, a comms and data center business, actually decelerated down 14% on a year-over-year basis. So, could have been worse for these guys. The automotive business at down 5% was actually outperforming what the expectations had been. And indeed, when you look at the support they got from the smart mobile devices, the cell phone category, that really helped everything else out that really wasn't doing so great. Now the results is the stock was up a lot today, up 15% after a pretty rough year, down 21% going into this print. So getting closer to break even, but still down for the year, despite the rise in after-hours trading. Now, during the conference call, CEO Thomas Caulfield was asked about which end markets were helping them the most. Was it cell phones? Was it the surprisingly not terrible results in automotive? Here's what he had to say.
The breadth of the end markets we play in and pretty well distributed. But we have a high concentration in smart mobile devices. Third quarter was, in the 50 handle percent of revenue, and in our automotive business. And even in a year where you hear a lot about sluggishness in the auto end market, we're growing high single digits. And so smart mobile devices, remember, they had their down period 2 years ago. And so they've become a steady and an opportunity for growth for us. And the auto's been growing. And a lot of that is the design wins over the last 5 to 6 years. It's not just that more content in cars are growing. We've won more sockets in cars. And we expect that to continue. The auto is a growth engine for GlobalFoundries. So I think it's really the combination of those two elements, the breadth of our end markets, and in particular, the concentration of our smart mobile devices and auto in our revenue.
So yeah, selling to lots of markets are good if some of them are doing well some of the time. Not every business is just that lucky, but GlobalFoundries certainly is. What's your big takeaway, and what's the big number that tells us a whole lot? I got both those things. So GlobalFoundries Q3 earnings, $1.7 billion in revenues. While that's down 6% on a year-over-year basis, it's better than last quarter, which was better than the quarter before that. The trend is their friend, but I promise you to bite. The one number that tells us a whole lot, the fact that smart mobile devices growth was at 14% in the quarter, is good news for GlobalFoundries. Thanks for listening to Drill on Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson.